Coming up today on a state visit to France, President Park Geun-hye pledges to further expand trade and investments with the European country. She also pushes her creative economy drive. South Korea welcomes the UN Security Council's condemnation of North Korea for its recent missile launch attempts and says it has submitted its sanctions implementation plan to the UN. Plus, it's showtime for the automotive crowd as the 2016 Busan International Motor Show revs up its engine for a 3-day run in Korea's southern port city. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Friday, June 3rd here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. We are going to start with President Park Geun-hye's state visit to France. The South Korean leader is there to mark 130 years of ties with the European powerhouse. On Thursday, she stopped by a business forum to highlight the growing importance of bilateral relations, especially in regards to building a creative economy. Our Song Ji-son, who is traveling with the president, files this report from Paris.
Imagination to create the future. That's how President Park Geun-hye began her remarks at a business forum between Korea and France in Paris. Despite continued efforts, Park said there's still a huge room for improvement in expanding trade and investment, considering the growth potential of the two economies. France is the world's sixth largest economy, and Korea is the world's sixth biggest trader over France. Park stressed the need to increase exchanges in addition to diversify trade items. She added that it would be a win-win for both when France's advanced science technologies are applied with Seoul's resources in new sectors of bio, ICT, and energy.
프랑스는 전통적인 산업 전자 분야에 더해 로봇, 인공지능, 3D 그래픽 등의 분야에서도 강점을 가지고 있습니다. 한국은 ICT 기반 인프라 구축에 강점을 가지고 있어서 양국이 협력을 확대한다면 큰 시너지를 낼 수 있을 것입니다.
Seoul and Paris will also bolster efforts and investment to jointly enter third countries. Nearly 200 French and European buyers gathered at the 101 consultation to meet Korean companies, with French business leaders also expressing hope for greater investment from Seoul. Seoul and Paris also reached agreements for cooperation in the creative economy. The two sides will support the expansion of the startup movement, especially for young entrepreneurs. Song Ji-son, Arirang News, Paris.
Now, South Korea and France have been strong economic partners for decades now, of course. For more on where the two countries stand today, as well as the potential for Seoul and Paris to take their business relations to a whole new level, Kim Min-ji reports.
Korea and France have been active at promoting exchanges in various fields, from culture and business to healthcare and energy. The two countries signed a treaty of friendship, commerce and navigation back in 1886, marking the start of their diplomatic relations. But despite their long history, bilateral trade has been at a relative standstill in recent years. While total trade has been up 4% annually over the past 10 years, Korean exports to France have fallen an average of 2% every year during the same period.
Korea's main export items to France, such as ships and mobile phones, dropped due to the slump in the overall European economy. But on the brighter side, growth in France seems to be picking up.
As for investment, Korea invested over $2 billion in France as of last year, while Paris has invested $7.3 billion. Over the past 5 years, Seoul has stepped up investment in manufacturing and Paris in the service sectors.
More and more companies contacting our services because they're interested into investing into Korea or interested into selling their products and services to the country. Before it was mostly, in general, I would say, centered between capital cities, and now people are looking beyond these capital cities. There's more cooperation between other cities, as for instance, this French investment, like Veolia in Incheon, for example, in Daegu.
Down the line, the general consensus is that prospects are bright and many see room for further development and synergy in increased fields.
We are in an extremely positive momentum of bilateral relations. France has always been promoting a partner-oriented approach in Korea. We are willing to develop some new sectors, for example, in the auto industry, with the intelligent car, new technologies, e-health, nanoelectronics, and so on.
Experts say Korea should actively make use of its free trade agreement with the European Union. The deal puts the country at an advantage over global rivals like Japan and China, which have yet to ink trade deals with the European bloc. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Now, President Park Geun-hye also attended the groundbreaking ceremony for a Korean center to be newly built inside an international campus village in Paris. The Korean leader installed the foundation stone during Thursday's event. President Park said she hoped the center would further boost friendly relations between Seoul and Paris. The project aimed at expanding educational exchanges and commemorating the two countries' 130-year anniversary of diplomatic ties. And President Park's trip to Paris is aimed as well at promoting even stronger cultural exchanges between France and South Korea, as it just so happens that her visit coincides with K-Culture Week in France as well. For a look at some of the exhibitions, performances and culinary events taking place, Oh Jung-hee reports.
A restaurant located in Paris is full of customers looking to have a taste of Korean food. After a Korean food quiz event, they're visiting the restaurant with food vouchers they earned.
I think that Korean food is healthy. It is easy to digest and tastes unique as well.
And this is only one of the many similar scenes to be seen during the K-Culture Week in France, specially designated during President Park Geun-hye's visit to France.
Ahead of the end of Korea Year in France in August, K-Culture Week was prepared to mark the finale. This week is going to be even more condensed and energetic and full of festive public events.
During the 7-day period, a series of cultural events will be held in 9 major cities in France, including Paris, Nantes, and Nice, to highlight both traditional and contemporary aspects of Korean culture. And one of the most anticipated events is the KCON 2016 France in Paris on Thursday. With the theme All Things Hallyu, it includes a K-pop concert featuring major idol groups. 2,000 tickets were sold out in only 3 hours, proving the French fans' devotion for Korean pop music. The Korean Culture Convention is another event where French people can get a taste of Korea's TV dramas and movies, fashion, and food. Meanwhile, the western city of Nantes will host the Spring of Korea Festival, a stage for classical and contemporary Korean music, such as pansori musical storytelling and samulnori percussion performances. Also, exhibitions of photos, ceramics, and sculptures will take place all across France.
We're hoping to bring about a change in international perceptions about Korea. K-Culture Week will bring attention to the excellence of Korean culture and art created through a long history and tradition beyond Korea's rapid economic development.
The week of events will bring all the charms of Korea, both past and present, to France, cultivating greater understanding between the two. Oh Jung-hee, Arirang News.
Now, in other news, South Korea has welcomed the UN Security Council's decision to strongly condemn North Korea for its recent missile launch attempts. Seoul's foreign ministry has pledged to work closely with the council members to bring about change in Pyongyang. Gwon-soa reports.
The UN Security Council wasted no time condemning North Korea's latest provocation, and South Korea was quick to welcome the Council's decision of adopting a press statement just a day after Pyongyang's failed Musudan ballistic missile launch Tuesday. It said the launches, which also includes one in late April, are in grave violation of the North's international obligations as they contribute to the regime's development of nuclear weapons and increase tension in the region. The statement was unanimously accepted by all 15 members of the Security Council, including the North's longtime ally China. Seoul's foreign ministry highlighted that point, especially as a high-ranking North Korean official was in China this week.
That the press statement has been adopted during the North's Workers' Party Vice Chairman Ri Su-yong's visit to China shows Beijing's stance on Pyongyang's provocations and violations against the international community is based on principles.
The latest press statement comes 3 months after the strongest UN resolution to date was adopted. And in line with the UN Security Council Resolution 2270, Seoul's Foreign Ministry announced Thursday that it has submitted its sanctions implementation plan to the UN as required within the 90-day deadline. In its report, the government thoroughly listed its measures taken so far, such as on weapons and luxury goods trade, cargo inspections, and financial sanctions. The ministry said it's not clear yet how many of the more than 190 UN member states have submitted their plans, but according to a source, 4 to 5 have done so far. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
Russia says it has submitted a report to the United Nations showing that it's carefully implementing UN sanctions on North Korea. In particular, Moscow's foreign ministry insisted it was strictly abiding by the most recent UN Security Council Resolution 2270. A ministry spokesperson said Russia also told the UN that it's currently fine-tuning a presidential executive order on the issue, and the country's central bank is sending notices to commercial banks calling on them to implement the resolution. On a related note, Russia was critical of Washington's unilateral designation of North Korea as a primary money laundering concern. The Foreign Ministry said the measure that circumvents the Security Council does not meet international laws. And China has expressed its opposition to tough new US sanctions that will tightly restrict North Korea's cash flow. This is just the latest in a series of disagreements between the world's superpowers. Kim Ji-yeon reports.
The United States and China are flexing their muscles in a power match over the Northeast Asian region ahead of their bilateral strategic and economic dialogue to be held in Beijing next week. The U.S. has further tightened its economic sanctions on North Korea by designating it as a primary money laundering concern, a move that's expected to gravely harm Pyongyang's ability to secure funds for developing its nuclear weapons program.
We're not going to stop putting pressure on the DPRK as long as they continue provocative actions.
In response, South Korea's Foreign Affairs Ministry says it highly values the measure to bring about an actual change in denuclearizing North Korea after the U.S. has called for similar moves from other countries. However, China, which has tighter financial ties with the regime, opposes the move. China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hua Chunying said Thursday that China is against imposing unilateral sanctions on North Korea.
In terms of unilateral sanctions, our position has actually been consistent. We consistently oppose any country implementing sanctions on another country based on their internal laws.
A local expert says China's response, coupled with its move to strategically improve relations with North Korea, are aligned with Beijing's efforts to gain the upper hand in the power match with Washington and strengthen its influence over Pyongyang.
China needs to have North Korea on its side. North Korea is an important buffer state to China. North Korea is a troublemaker. It's making provocative behaviors military and also testing its nuclear weapons, which makes the United States, along with the international community, to be focusing on sanctioning North Korea, which is also indirectly threatening China.
The expert says the polarized stances of the U.S. and China on North Korea would make a considerable impact in other disputes the two countries have yet to resolve during next week's dialogue, including the one concerning U.S. exercising its navigating prowess in the South China Sea. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
The Busan International Motor Show opened its doors to the press on Thursday. A number of domestic and foreign auto manufacturers are debuting their new models over the next 3 days at Korea's largest auto show. Hwang Ji-hye was there and she filed this report.
From eco-friendly plug-in hybrids to luxury SUVs, Scores of new models are on parade at the 2016 Busan International Motor Show. And the Busan Motor Show opens to the public on Friday, where visitors can find more than 200 cars on display from 25 different brands. Around 50 cars are making their debut in the Korean market, while 5 of them are making their global premiere. The G80 from Genesis is one of them. Hyundai recently separated Genesis as an independent luxury brand with the aim of taking the automaker more upmarket.
And we have a very, very clear target and a focus on entering into this luxury market and being a true competitor there.
On top of luxury, shiny new cars, the motor show is dominated by sports utility vehicles. Trying to meet up with a booming demand for larger automobiles, Maserati, which has represented the finest in Italian sports cars for decades, unveiled its first SUV model, the Levante.
If we look at the development of the luxury market in the last 5 years, the SUV segment has taken a very large stake. This accounts worldwide for roughly 50% of the overall luxury market.
The race among automakers to make more fuel-efficient vehicles is also on, especially in the face of Volkswagen's emissions scandal. Toyota introduced its hydrogen fuel cell vehicle Mirai, which is known for its clean-burning technology, meaning that its only emission is water vapor. But the motor show is not just about cars.
About 60% of the visitors are from outside of Busan. They stay in Busan with their families, go shopping, and visit local attractions, and with that, we expect the motor show to contribute greatly in boosting the local economy.
The biennial Busan Motor Show runs through June 12th, and various events to draw active participation of visitors are scheduled to take place in and outside of the Bexco venue. 황지혜, Arirang News, Busan.
Well, that's all we have for now on this Friday morning here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom. Thank you, as always, for watching. We'll be back throughout the day with more newscasts. So until then, goodbye.